Good evening. The chair would like to call this meeting of the Germantown Municipal School Board to order. We are glad that you are here this evening. If you would like to speak during the Citizens to be Heard portion of our agenda, we request that you would fill out a form on the table in the lobby outside the door and turn it into the board secretary, Ms. Subramani. As we begin, let us begin with a moment of silence. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by Ms. Landers.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have before you the proposed meeting agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. The agenda has been moved by Ms. Oaf and seconded by, was that Ms. Landers? Ms. Subramani, please call the roll.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Landers?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith?
Yes.
Ms. Oaf?
Yes.
Ms. Luter?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next order of business will be recognition and awards.
One of the privileges that we have in Germantown School District and School Board is to recognize those students, those parents, those staff, all the stakeholders who are doing incredible things in our district and representing us wonderfully. And we have the honor of recognizing several students and also a staff member today. First, Tennessee Secretary of State Trey Hargett last Wednesday recognized elementary, middle, and high school students from across the state for writing outstanding essays on leadership and civic engagement. We were very proud that 2 students from Germantown Municipal School District were among 22 who took top honors in this essay category. Winners of the Secretary of State's 3rd Annual Civics Essay Contest will receive a scholarship and a trip to the state capitol to visit Secretary Hargett this spring. This competition was promoted by our GMC PTO. First, and when I call your name, come on up here. We have Bryn Bennett, who was proud to represent Farmington Elementary School, securing an honorable mention for the K through 3rd age division. From Dogwood, Kate Wingfield earned a 2nd place rating and a $250 scholarship prize. Both girls will travel to Nashville this spring. Next Gen Payback Challenge winners. We are also proud to announce a national winner and an honorable mention for the Next Generation Personal Finance Payback Challenge. Through the use of an interactive game, Payback students are able to map out steps after high school. Students completed essays about how their work with Payback and in their financial literacy coursework at the high school will guide them in their future endeavors. Congratulations to both Kaylin Rawlins and Madia Aziz. We also thank their Houston High School teacher, Monica Thomas. Congratulations. Are Kaylin or Medea here? Okay, here we go. I think we just have Medea. She was working also. And last but not least, we have our staff recognitions. Germantown Municipal School District is pleased to announce Carla Christian has been selected as a 2019 Tennessee School Counselor of the Year. The ASCA School Counselor of the Year program honors the professionals who devote their careers to serving as advocates for the nation's students, helping them achieve success in school and in life. State School Counselor of the Year honorees were selected based on several criteria, including school counseling innovations, effective school counseling programs, leadership and advocacy skills, and contributions to student advancement. The State School Counselor of the Year recipients will travel to Washington, D.C. on February 1st, 2019 to be honored and formally recognized at a black tie gala along with the National School Counselor of the Year and finalists. We could not be prouder of the work that Carla Christian is doing at Houston Middle School. Congratulations, Ms. Christian. That's it. And that concludes our recognitions. As always, before we start the business meeting, if you were here for recognitions, please feel free to leave if you want to.
We now move to reports. Ms. Griffith, do you have a TLN update?
So far in 2019, we as a district have attended a legislative breakfast with other members of the municipal school boards and the local Shelby County School Board and superintendents to kind of discuss some things that are specific to our part of the state and do a little meet and greet with some of our local representatives. And upcoming next month, we will all be traveling to Nashville to participate in Day on the Hill on behalf of Tennessee School Board Association. We will all participate in that and get an opportunity to meet with some of our local representatives and state senators to kind of discuss some things that are really near and dear to our hearts, and we look forward to all doing that together.
Thank you, Ms. Griffith. The next item on the agenda is the chairman's report, and I am going to ask all of the school board members to share things that they have been involved with during the month. But when I looked at this month, we've had just over 2 weeks of school since our last board meeting. A few things that I've been involved with, I was able to participate in the winter party celebration at Dogwood Elementary, and each grade level not only had a party but also a service project, and I thought that was really unique and special. I was invited and attended the Dogwood Elementary's January PTO meeting, and am attending the Riverdale PTO's Board of Directors meeting in January, and look forward to getting into all of the schools and meeting with folks. And Ms. Griffith and I attended the TSBA's new school board orientation January 9th and 10th. So that's all that we've been up to in the last 2 weeks. So that concludes the chairman's report. The next item on the agenda is the financial report. Mr. Jones?
Okay, you have the financial reports for the month ending December 31, 2018. First, to look at the balance sheet or our statement of financial position. And the school operating fund total assets and liabilities and fund balance totaled at $15.4 million. In the Federal Projects Fund, there was a reimbursement due from the Tennessee Department of Education for $234,000. In the Cafeteria Fund, total assets, liabilities, and fund balance at just over $200,000. In the Capital Projects Fund, total assets, liabilities, and fund balance is at $1.3 million. In the Health Insurance Fund, total assets, liabilities, and fund balance is at $2.2 million. The OPEB Trust, right at $2.1 million. And in the General Fixed Asset Account Group, which is our land, equipment, and buildings, right at $71.5 million. Just a couple things on the Statement of Revenues and Expenditures. Sales tax revenues are up right at $106,000 compared to prior year. Targeted percentages for December for administrative and support categories is at 50%, instructional categories 42%, and overall we are at 36%. Health insurance year-to-date claims are averaging 336 monthly, just above what was budgeted at 318. And finally, in the OPEB Trust Fund, continued market declines resulted in an unrealized loss of $118,000. So we'll continue to monitor that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. That brings us to the Superintendent's Report, the final report of the evening. Mr. Manuel.
So we have some visuals to go along with my presentation. I think one of the things that we like to do is take different components of the strategic plan each time I share my report. And so one of those areas that we talk about are our capital improvements. So you can see right there, that is actual drone footage from today at our new construction site at Forest Hill Elementary School. So just so you know, they have hit some major landmarks in this progress. So early on, we had the site cleared. They have poured the foundation. They've gotten up out of the ground. They have the first story block that is completed on all the buildings. They have poured the second floor decking, so that means they're moving on to the brick and mortar on the walls in the second story. So you can see they're actually on the roof there, so they have installed decking there. The pictures down below, you can see in the bottom left, there's the actual huge tree that's on the National Registry that's 400 years old. That's looking out of, it'll be glass walls and an activity room there in the building. You can see in the middle picture, even though the walls are wet because we've gotten all this rain, they have started HVAC work in there. They're actually running conduit through that building. And then you can see on the far right and the bottom of this picture there, you can see some of the mock-ups. They have a sample wall there to show you the different brick samples, how the glass looks, the different types of glass that'll be in the building. So those are different samples of the products. So know that you can see this building. It is progressing, and we are hitting our benchmarks. There's the gym right there. You can see the roof on the gym, the administrative office right there. They're actually on top of the roof there. That would be the main entrance right there by that crane as you would be going in, and you would enter the hallway to the kindergarten, first grade, second grades. But you can see the people on the roof. They're actually walking around there, and they are putting block, and it is moving to that second story level on the main building there. So some of the timelines that we're going to hit moving forward in the future. When we look at Forest Hill Elementary School, know that by February they're supposed to have the first floor in the dry. That means that they'll have windows sealed. They'll be able to start dehumidifying those areas. By March, they're looking at the second floor being in the dry, and that's when we would recommend that the board actually take a trip to visit this facility once we are in the dry and some of the mud's cleared up, and they've actually waterproofed all the areas that we're going to be going through. Know that we are looking at a July completion, early July, right now on this project, but that's one of those things where we look at the weather every day, and until they get the roof on the building and they get it sealed up, we do have weather delays that are built into this project. But we are looking at our early July completion right now for this project. Other updates on our capital improvements that I think it's important for us to discuss. You can see some images here of the joint project that we'd really formed with the city, with a lot of our parents, businesses, to actually pay for some renovations, build a field house behind the current home bleachers, and do some other renovations at the high school. So you can see the first stages that we're looking at here. This is a rendering of what the field house will look like behind the high school home bleachers there. So there's glass workout area for both boys and girls. There are both bathrooms in that facility. There are some offices and locker rooms also in this space. But just so you can know the phasing, because I think there was some misinformation out there that we do want to make sure that we clear up. The athletic field house is our first project. We are progressing through that. We should be looking at going to bid in that in the next couple months, and then the board will approve that bid process. So we'll be bringing that to you. The next step, and Mr. Cathy, as he mentioned during the meeting, is very busy right now. We've got to meet to start the next band hall expansion. So one of the projects in here is removing some area that they're currently using for storage. So we want to replace that storage and also provide areas for the percussion group to practice. So when we're talking about adding those spaces onto the main building, we want those completed before we ever start and remove their current storage at that facility. Phase 3 would be the paddock concession stand area, and there was an image of the paddock when we initially started there. To the left, you can see that's their current band storage building. They're converting to an area for parents, people at the game, so that they can go there and buy concessions. And then the fourth phase would be performing arts renovations. And so know that we are also in that process of design for those, and so we've got to meet again in the next month here to continue that process of looking for how we can improve our fine arts facilities at the school. So just so you can know the timeline of what has happened so far with the field house, that is our first phase here. December, the Board of Zoning and Appeals has already granted approval for this building. Then January 8th, we have the Planning Commission approval. The next deadlines for us to hit will be the Design Review Commission, and they're also looking at exterior and landscaping. Then in the spring of 2019, like I said, that's when we should be going to bid for this project and bring it to you. We will also, once we have the money in hand, and we will be breaking ground on this project, and then we're looking at this being ready for the next football season. So fall of 2019, construction completed on this facility. Know that when the Planning Commission did approve this process, they don't determine the stages that we go through in this process. All they're doing is saying, hey, this is a phased, I think there was a mistake in their meeting. They're going to do a phased approach to this. We're the ones who actually determine the phases. So they don't approve, you have to do this first, then these steps. So know that what we have presented are the phases that we are going through for this process. Other things coming, know that Mr. Cathy and his staff are very busy. They are accomplishing a lot of projects and a lot of things, and these things are going to be coming before the board. But know that we are on track to hit all of the projects that were currently in our capital plan as a district, and so that totals over $43 million when we look at these projects, if they come in at bid as we hope they do at these budget amounts. But no, you can see the yellow checks. New Elementary School Central Office Board has already approved those projects. Also the Dogwood Playground, know that was approved by the board. So those are going forward. And the top two, the New Elementary School Central Office, you saw the footage on those. Those are actually being worked on right now. The playground, we're waiting for the weather to improve, but that should be starting in the next few weeks at Dogwood to start that process. When we talk about the items that are currently out to bid that were on this list, know that the security upgrades at all schools and Houston High School's entrance, they had a pre-bid meeting today, so they are actually working on that process. So know that will be coming before the board shortly. And then, of course, we have future upgrades at Houston Middle School's entrance and at Dogwood's entrance that are in the next year's capital improvements. Then when we look at our spring bid timeline, other projects that are going to be coming before the board that know that they are in stages of the bid creation, and the architects also designing these projects. The Riverdale Boiler and Chiller project, as we've talked about in the past, where they are ripping out the ceilings, the current grid and tile, switching LED lighting, switching from a boiler chiller project to an actual HVAC system. That is going to happen, and know that they're in the early process of that. So that will be happening too this spring, that we should have the bid document back for that project, start construction as soon as the students are out of the building. Houston High School Fieldhouse, we discussed that project timeline. Dogwood ADA upgrades, know that we've discussed that in the past. We actually approved the architect to go through those and look at those upgrades we need to do at Dogwood Elementary School, so know that will be coming. Dogwood painting will also be coming. And then the last is bathroom upgrades and renovations. Know that the board at the end of or beginning of this school year approved to move $1 million from our reserve to do sets of bathroom banks at each of our schools. By no means does this upgrade all of our bathrooms at all of our schools. I wish we could accomplish that with that. But know that we are getting sets of banks at each of the schools. And it is our objective to handle all the bathroom upgrades and renovations as we move through the next 4 years. But I think it's exciting times for us to know that we are moving through all of the items on this list and plan to accomplish these and bring these before the board this spring for approval. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. The next section of our meeting is citizens to be heard. I have one form. Ms. Subramani, do you have any additional? Oh, there's one behind you. If you could bring that forward to Ms. Subramani. Could you go and there's Mr. Griffith will get a form.
That's not question and answer.
Right. Okay. While you're filling that out, let me read our rules about citizens to be heard. GMSD, by its policy, allows persons to address the board during the citizen to be heard section of its agenda, but only within certain guidelines. Tennessee law makes no specific provisions for the participation of the public at school board meetings. Thus, there is no inherent or legal right of citizens to make comments during a school board meeting. Prior to making your remarks, you must state your name, address, and the subject of your presentation. The chair would remind you that if there are several persons who are intending to express the same sentiment, GMSD board rules require that you designate one spokesperson to speak for your position. If you do not do so and the chair determines that comments made are cumulative, the chair will direct the speaker to cease their remarks. Individuals addressing the board shall address their remarks to the chair. Speakers will not be permitted to engage in gossip, make defamatory comments, or use abusive or vulgar language. In accordance with GMSD policy SB 1.404, remarks will be limited to 3 minutes unless time is extended by the board or otherwise reduced by the chairman to reflect the number of citizens to be heard. TCA 39-17-306 provides that it is a Class B misdemeanor to intentionally prevent or disrupt a school board meeting. Please be advised that any individual who is disruptive or does not adhere to the aforementioned rules will not be permitted to continue or make their remarks at this meeting. This evening, 2 individuals have indicated their desire to address the board. You will have 3 minutes each to address the board. The first is Mr. Brian Curry. And I will start your time once you state your name, your address, and your topic.
Okay, Brian Curry, 9321 Hollow Creek Cove in Germantown. I'm going to temper my remarks now that the tuition and discussion has been tabled, but I do want to just provide some insight to the board. As you know, I recently ran for the seats that you were holding, and some of the posts that I would make on Facebook describing my policy positions, I would monitor the engagement of social media. By far, the #1 post in views, engagements, clicks, and comments was a post dealing with a feasibility study for charging tuition. As you know, our policy already states that Shelby County students who are out of district may have tuition fees associated with their enrollment as defined by you, the municipal school board. By far, that was the most engaged. When I would go out and talk to people, meet and greets and whatever, our older residents in particular would be angry when they found out that we had students attending GMSD that were not paying, that were out of district. So I just want to provide that insight to the board that there is a sentiment in the community, as you will find out, that people, especially with your older taxpayers, they feel like, hey, they're paying for services they're not receiving. They don't feel that people should be coming in and getting a free ride, so to speak, that everyone should have some skin in the game. So as you go about your deliberations, that please consider that. There's been concern this week on social media that somehow we're going to lose a lot of students if we charge tuition. I find that to be incongruent with the positions that we say as GMSD, that we proclaim, rightfully so, that HHS in particular has very high test scores, is a great place to receive an education. We tout that, and rightfully so. Well, you can't say that it's a great place to receive an education and then be worried that people are going to leave if they're asked to pay a small amount of money to attend. That's just not logical. So I do ask, as you deliberate on this, to really consider that if we do have a great product, and I know that we do, I've got complete faith in our academic education, student services, that HHS is going to be a great place to attend school. And if we feel that way, then we should have the utmost confidence that people are going to want to attend the school no matter what. I'll conclude kind of going off in a different direction. I want to commend our future principal of Forest Hill, since I can't name names, and I also want to commend our communications lead for the district for their level of engagement with the new Forest Hill Elementary. This week, a lot of communication came out about opportunities for students at their particular schools. I know mine in particular at Dogwood, having assemblies, also having meet and greets and mascot naming, and just an opportunity to ask questions. I think that's a great thing. I do commend the district for their communication. I think the timing on that's perfect, and the reception that I've seen so far has been very positive to that, and I just want to commend the district and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Our second citizen to be heard is Dr. Agrawal. Did I pronounce that properly? Please state your name, address, and topic, and then I'll start your time.
I'm Dr. Agrawal. I'm Division Chief of International Radiology at Lebanon, St. Jude. I'm visiting doctor at Regional 1 as well. I love Germantown schools. That's why I'm here.
Can you state your address?
Sorry, I live in 9933 South Houston Way, Germantown. We bought this home in 2011. The reason we bought this home is because we love Dogwood and Houston School. We heard a lot about this, and we couldn't be more happier. My son is 4th grader at Dogwood. My daughter is 7th grader at Houston. Both are doing extremely well because of awesome teachers. Miss Williams and Matt at Dogwood. She's doing great work with my son. I got an email that, and then what happened a few years back, as you guys know, we were zoned out of Dogwood School suddenly. Nobody asked for our input, although we bought home in Germantown in that zone so that my kids can go to Dogwood. Of course, we were extremely unhappy, angry to my daughter, who was 3rd grader, wanted to stay in Dogwood. So we applied for transfer. We are not getting transfer, that's fine, at least we are at school. And now I'm getting email that my son, who is 4th grader at Dogwood, may not be able to go to Dogwood. He may have to go to Forest Hill Irene School. And even though his straight A's, he's doing extremely well, he's doing very good in Forest Hill math, he's doing whatever teachers are asking him, and he will be extremely upset if I have not told him that he may not be able to go to Dogwood for 1 more day. And even my daughter, I heard that transfer is not guaranteed, and even if she's in Germantown school for 7 years. So I have a request to, please reconsider whoever has come up with this decision that to just, kick out the kids from the school district. Even if the folks like me who bought home in Germantown,
Thank you. That concludes our citizens to be heard. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is made up of items which are not expected to be controversial. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda by any member of the board. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve all items in the consent agenda.
Second.
The motion has been made by Ms. Landers and seconded by Ms. Oaf. Ms. Supermani, please call the roll.
Ms. Landers,
Yes.
Ms. Griffith,
Yes.
Ms. Oaf,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Luter.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is the revision of policy SP 6.2061, Interdistrict Open Enrollment. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the revised policy SP 6.2061, Interdistrict Open Enrollment as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve the revision of policy SP 6.2061, Interdistrict Open Enrollment as amended by Ms. Landers and seconded by Ms. Oaf. Ms. Supermani, is there any discussion?
Is there discussion? We might want to
Explain the
yeah,
amendment.
You might explain, Chair, what the amendment is.
I have typed in the rationale. It's in.
Is it in the rationale? The interdistrict open enrollment policy, the changes proposed, the amendment removed on the second page, lines 11 through 16, removing and moving to a September consideration of students that reside in Shelby County but who live outside the city limits of Germantown shall be charged an annual tuition as defined by the Germantown Municipal School Board. That language has been tabled until September. The two changes that stand are out-of-county students shall be charged an annual tuition, and out-of-county students that are children of employees of Germantown Municipal Schools shall be exempt from tuition. And the second item is the number of interdistrict transfers per elementary or middle school shall not exceed 20% of the school's preceding year's resident enrollment. For new schools, we will use projected enrollments. Any discussion?
Chairman Luter, will you say again, just for clarification for my purposes, starting at line 11 on page 2?
Through line 16.
To be removed.
To be removed. That is the amended motion.
Based on what we
From the work
discussed
session.
earlier. Okay.
Yes.
Chairman Luter,
Yes, ma'am.
question.
Ms. Oak.
Would that revert the language back to the original language from the previous policy, to the original policy language?
Per lines 7 through 10?
Per lines 11 through 16, once we remove that, then the
Yes,
original language
it would
will be
revert.
replaced. It is not a removal of those lines
Correct.
entirely.
It would revert to the original language.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion?
I would like to clarify that the process of charging tuition for those students who are out of county currently and also out of state is an existing practice that we currently have. That's not a change in what we are doing. That's an existing practice that we have.
Correct. Any further discussion? Ms. Subramani, please call the roll.
Ms. Griffith,
Yes.
Ms. Hoff,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Landers,
Yes.
Ms. Luter.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item is the consideration of approval of purchase of Promethean active boards panels for Forest Hill Elementary School. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the proposal from Personal Computer Systems through TIPS contract number 180306 in the amount of $193,765 for the turnkey install of Promethean active panels at Forest Hill Elementary School.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Fisher, seconded by Ms. Landers, to approve the proposal from Personal Computer Systems through TIPS contract in the amount of $193,765 for the turnkey installation of Promethean active panels at Forest Hill Elementary School. Is there any discussion?
Chairman Luter, if maybe Mr. Cathy could speak to, if he's still here, is he still here? Okay, the fact that we will be getting a credit, I think that's a
Yeah, so
positive.
this was a change order that we had discussed during the work session, that because the cost of the actual Promethean board came down and we were looking at an interactive TV, now we're going with a full Promethean board. There is a credit for this project too that covers the majority of this cost. I think there was a difference of approximately $30,000 to go with a much higher end product of the Promethean boards in the elementary school. And so it was the recommendation from the technology and academic team to move to this higher end product once they saw the change in current prices.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Ms. Subramani, please call the roll.
Ms. Hoff,
Yes.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Landers,
Yes.
Ms. Griffith,
Yes.
Ms. Luter.
Yes.
Thank you.
The final item on our business portion of our meeting tonight is the approval of the letter of agreement with A2H for design and consulting services for the Houston Middle School addition and renovation.
I move to approve the agreement for design and consulting services with A2H for the Houston Middle School addition and renovation.
Second.
It has been moved by Ms. Oaf and seconded by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion?
Chairman Luter, I just
Ms.
want to
Oak.
say how excited I am. This is to be, knowing that a couple of years ago, we all sat in a meeting and this was initially brought up, to see that we are actually in motion to make this happen and give some relief to our very crowded middle schools. Just, I get very excited about this. So thank you to Mr. Cathy for his hard work and to the superintendent for helping get this done.
Yes, I'm sad that Mr. Cathy is not here so that we can all say thank you to him yet one more time. And thank you to Mr. Manuel as well. Any further discussion? Ms. Subramani, please call the roll.
Ms. Fisher,
Yes.
Ms. Landers,
Yes.
Ms. Griffith,
Yes.
Ms. Hoff,
Yes.
Ms. Luter.
Yes.
Thank you.
The next session of the meeting is announcements. Our next board meeting will be February the 11th. And I believe it is at the Houston High School Circulation Library?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct? And the work session is at 5 o'clock? Is that correct as well?
Yeah, we will, that's to be determined, depending
To
on
be
the agenda,
determined.
5 or
Okay.
5:30.
Okay. So we will have that, and I think that's the only announcement.
February 4th, we have a work session on zoning.
February 4th, we have a work session from 1 o'clock until 4 o'clock at the school board office on zoning.
And then February 13th, we have the community tour day.
February 13th, I knew I needed a piece of paper that said all that, is Community Tour Day at Houston High School. Would you like to say anything to that?
All are welcome to attend. We just ask that you pre-register at our website, and it's on the front page.
Thank you. February 13th, Houston High School Community Tour Day. Encourage everyone to come and see the incredible things going on at Houston High School. Any further business? We stand adjourned.